Hello and welcome to Around the Lens episode 116. I am your host, David J. Murphy. Around the Lens is the internet's only live visual journalism roundtable podcast coming at you every Monday night here at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now live on Facebook Live. As mentioned, I'm your host. My co-host joining me as always is Zach Roberts. Hello, Zach. How are you?
Hello. Hi. I'm not quite sure. Is this show live right now, Dave?
Live! Internet's only live! Weekly round. That's put enough qualifiers there, you know. We're also the best live visual journalism roundtable podcast live streaming on Facebook on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern on the internet. So enough qualifiers, you know.
Yep. As opposed to those ones that are on like local access TV.
Yeah. Nobody watches those. What you been up to last week, huh? Anything interesting?
Just covered the March for Our Lives down in D.C. this weekend for Nation of Change as usual. That was interesting considering the march turned into a standstill. No one had room to move anywhere because there were 800,000 people or so in a space designed for a lot less than that. Yeah. And there was supposedly a group of 10 people filming a commercial out on the White House, out on the lawn. The Capitol's lawn, so the protest couldn't be there.
Oh my God.
So it was super interesting. Somebody tried to FOIA the park park documentation for the request, and all the names were blacked out, shockingly. So it was interesting.
Wow. All right. Well, sounds like a fun and exciting weekend. We've got a guest here this evening, as always. Our guest is Mr. Luke Sherritt, right?
That's right.
All right, I like that. You know, that's a really great last name because it fits in so well with social media. You know, Sherritt. I'm sure you're very big on social media, right, Luke? With a name like that.
I'm off social media for right now, but I'm coming back in a week. So look for me there on Instagram.
It's a popular time to be off social media considering how much
Facebook
hatred is out there.
I really did.
Do you have any thoughts on the Facebook controversy going on right now?
Yeah, I'm probably not the most qualified to address it. I'm not to brag, but I've been off Facebook for a couple of years, and it's been wonderful.
La-di-da, look at you, Mister.
I actually literally tweeted out the other day. I said, "Is the fact I'm quitting Facebook becoming the new I don't have a TV?"
Yeah, pretty much. No, it's super interesting. I don't know if people will ever really be able to get off, because I'm no longer addicted to Facebook,
but it's about getting off Facebook. That's
the
difference there.
Although I'm no longer addicted to Facebook, I'm now addicted to Instagram and Twitter, which means that it's not Facebook's fault. It's like probably something inside of me. So I think most people have a need to really kind of like put themselves out there, which is why Facebook will probably never go away, but it's definitely interesting times for sure.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I look at this whole thing and it's like, it seems odd. Like, what could Facebook really do about it? Because this is something people were choosing to download onto their devices, and essentially, that was, then taking they were opting in to give their data. Now, I know it collected data from like friends of friends or whatever, but I mean, it's not like Facebook gave them the data. It sort of, allowed someone to build a program to put onto your, you opted into, and it's like, I don't know what Facebook really does in this instance besides just banning what people, apps they can make and, allow people to install. I mean, so, it'll be interesting to see how this all pans out. I think Facebook will be fine in the end. It's already seen a dip in stocks for sure, but it's going to come back. I mean, there's too many people who use Facebook on a regular basis for it not to, weather the storm. And even if everybody leaves Facebook and goes to Instagram, well, guess what? They own Instagram, so,
That's right.
Good luck. Unless somebody comes out with like some completely open source social media platform that doesn't rely on any like, big time server. It's all just like it's hosted on your computer and that's it.
I put my money on MySpace. I think it's coming back. The place.
That reminds me, Zach. We got to get our Around the Lens MySpace page.
I wish you should go. I don't know if it's actually even still around, but like 2 years ago, or no, it was more than 2 years ago. I think it was 5 years ago. MySpace went through like a serious renovation after Rupert Murdoch bought it for he bought it for like $750 million or something like that, and then just sold it for about 30, like 2 years ago. Yeah. He took a serious loss. Single tear rolls down my eye. Well, his group did. I don't think Murdoch personally lost $700 million. But the site is freaking gorgeous now. Like, it is slick. It is everything that you'd think you'd probably want in a social media site. No one is there.
All right, we're going back to MySpace, and we're going to quit Reddit and go to Dig, and then we're going to quit Google and go to Yahoo. I'm ready.
Alta Vista or death.
There you go.
That was my first. That was my first right here. Alta Vista. Alta Vista for life. Anyways. All right, well, let's get on with the show. We got a lot of show to talk about tonight. Luke, I found you because I saw your image featured on Time's Top 100 of the year. So before we get into the show and talk about all the wonderful topics we're going to talk about, I want to talk to you about this image in particular. For those of you who have not seen it, it's a great shot. It shows a group of a family here, it looks like, sitting in a truck, waiting to be rescued. They are suffering the ravages of Hurricane Harvey in Texas of last year, obviously. And it's a powerful image. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you shot this image, what you shot, kind of the story behind the image, and what it was like to be featured on this Top 100 list?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really incredible time. It's probably one of the most, I would say, the most impactful news event I've really ever covered. It was just getting down there to Houston was kind of a challenge. I want to give a shout out to my editors at Bloomberg for having faith in me and just saying, go, figure it out on the fly. So there were no flights into Houston. The airports were flooded. There were no rental cars. There's no gas. There's no food. So I flew into Dallas and made a beeline for a Walmart, and the place was packed. It was crowded with people, and I was like, oh no, I'm not going to find a gas can. I'm not going to find a toilet paper in here. And I walked inside, and it was back to school shopping. So no one was there for hurricane supplies. I was like, okay, calm down, Luke. But I kind of finally made it down to Houston and came to my first police roadblock and followed some really good advice from a friend of mine who's kind of a veteran wire shooter for Getty. And he says, when you come to a roadblock, just follow the last car right on in, like you're in the convoy. So that's what I did. It was a convoy of Cajun Navy guys with their fishing boats. And I figured, look, if I'm going to find where the action is, and if I'm going to make some compelling photos, that's where these guys are going to be. So just followed them for about 10 minutes to a neighborhood that was totally flooded, and people just kind of were walking through waist deep water with their babies and their kids and their dogs in their arms, and jumped on a boat. The first boat I asked, they said, come with me, and we were just cruising down through this neighborhood, and it's just like any suburban neighborhood you would see, but with 6 feet of water in it. And there are folks on their roofs, shouting help, 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 and we had to go a ways into the neighborhood to get to some of the houses that hadn't been helped yet, and we even had to pass people to kind of go to where the water was deepest. So it was really interesting. Hearing these bass fishermen that I was with saying, "Hey, we're coming back for you. We're coming back. Don't worry. We got to go farther into the neighborhood where the water's deeper." And it was really moving just to be there, just to witness it. The week before I went down there, I think I went and saw the movie Dunkirk, and I'm a big World War II buff, and I was really moved by that movie and just by in history these normal people who stepped up and said, "I can make a difference. I'm going to help." And kind of sort of connected the dots as I was on that boat. This is Houston's Dunkirk. These are people who, they're just normal. They're normal folks, and they drove through the night, and they took off work, and they spent their own money to come help save Americans because they're Americans too. And I just, really incredibly moved just to even be there. So it was also nice to make pictures too because I like to do that, and that's my job. So. Just seeing that family over there, I just something clicked inside me and said, "Hey, that's a picture. You should make that picture." So wiped some water, some raindrops off my lens, and made a couple frames. And then we went over there and was actually able to help them into the boat and put my camera away for a minute, and realized I didn't want to show up and just be a vulture and just do my thing, but I was really, really honored to be able to actually lend a helping hand. So, but yeah, no, it's really, I'm really surprised to be featured in the top 100. To be honest, when the list came out on Twitter, a friend of mine had posted it, and I was in kind of a cynical mood, and I saw that tweet, and I was like, I'm not even going to look at that right now because there's just not a chance that I've even got one in there. And 10 minutes later, a buddy texts me. He's like, dude, you're in top 100. I'm like, oh my gosh. Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
So,
The best way I can tell you from personal experience, the best way to just is go Control F and type in your name. And then you don't have to look through all the photos because, like, I mean, they're amazing photos. I mean, like, but always amazing photos. But it's like it's always depressing because it's like somebody else got an image from the same story you covered. And you're like, okay, no, I'm not going to. Yeah, no, I know. Hey, no, well, yeah. Yeah, don't talk to me about the World Press Awards, okay? So,
Indeed. Still bitter.
No, not at
Yeah, I mean, have you ever been featured on a top 100 list before?
yes, once before, but I do not remember what the photo was. So sounds really, really arrogant, but I'm sorry.
Well, you just shoot so many great photos that it could have been any of them. What year was it?
Let's see. Actually, no. Okay, I think it was a picture of a horse at the Kentucky Derby, and in the morning before they run the race, all the horses that aren't good enough to make the actual Derby, they run out around the track at like 6 or 7 a.m. and really pretty light, and they take the horses to the backside, and then the guys who live in the stables and really do most of the work for the horses kind of douse them with like hot steaming water. And so you get all this steam coming up from the backs of these horses. And so I think I made sort of a tight detail shot, maybe with a 300, and got some steam rising off the back of a horse. And yeah, I think that's the one that made it in, which is really random because it didn't seem like the most important thing I shot that year. But yeah.
Okay. Cool. It's it's a crapshoot. Sometimes you can have really important stuff, but it may get overshadowed by other more important stuff, and sometimes just shoot a pretty picture, and that's something. I think they try to emphasize variety with these top 100 lists. I mean, I'm sure they could probably check nothing but war photos, and it would all be wonderful, gripping, powerful shots. But I think to the average viewer, it has to be more comprehensive than that. That's my thinking, anyways. But I don't know. Yeah. I know my pictures always make the top 100 favorite photos of my mom. So that's the only list I really care about. But
it's awesome.
Anyways, congratulations on being featured. It's an honor, and glad to have you on to talk about visual journalism.
Thanks.
All right, so let's get into the show. Our first topic this evening is Easter. It is Easter coming up. If you're listening to this show before the holiday has hit, then congratulations. We're timely. If not, well, whatever. Plan for next year. But Easter is coming up, so I thought let's talk about Easter. How do we shoot Easter? If you're working stiff at a newspaper, or your assignment editor comes to you and says, "Hey, we need some Eastery stuff." What do you do? So let's throw it to you, Luke, first. First, have you ever shot anything with an Easter theme to it? If so, what? And if you were asked to shoot something Eastery, what would you shoot, and how would you shoot it?
Yeah, good question. Let's see. So, what comes to mind first and foremost? Actually, probably the only Easter I've shot on assignment was actually at the White House, on the south lawn of the White House. There's something called the White House Easter egg roll, where they have a ton of families out and a lot of like military families and their kids, and it's actually a big Easter themed party on the south lawn of the White House, which is pretty cool. The downside is that they always schedule it at like 11 a.m. or like 1 p.m. just when the light is at its absolute worst.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, there'd be some wonderful shots out here of the president, having fun with a cute little kid, but no, it's at 1 o'clock. So
easy there, man. Easy. Phrasing.
Unless it's a cloudy day, then gold. But
yeah.
So that's some of the Easter stuff I've shot. But that's a really great question. It kind of makes me a little nervous. Like, what if the local paper called me and said we need the Easter feature? Like, I'm not sure what I would do other than go to the White House. So,
well, that's an option for you. Not many of us, though. Zach, you're going to the White House, right? Shoot some Easter egg hunts, right? Yeah. You got that access?
Yeah,
you got that press pass?
I don't think any of my sites that I work for is going to get access to the White House anytime soon. So
I wonder if our friend CS will be shooting the Easter egg roll this year.
I'm sure he will be.
Indeed.
I'm sure he'll be very happy to. It'll be a nice relief.
I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, Easter egg hunts, Easter, that's kind of the two, they go hand in hand. I mean, I've shot my own fair share of the Easter egg hunt action. It's you try and get the typical shot of the kid going for the egg, and then you try and see where you can kind of vary it from there, wide shots, a lot of group shots, especially when they got that cavalcade of group kids ready to just rush after all those eggs. The typical shot, maybe from the ground level, of the egg in the foreground and all the kids in the background out of focus. I'm
trying to
shots.
I'm trying to find a buddy of mine just posted a series of photos from his local Easter egg Easter thing, and they dropped eggs from a helicopter.
Oh my God.
And so it's this great series of photos. You see this like these black dots dropping from a plane or from a helicopter, like a really low flying helicopter. And then the next shot is basically, it looks like a complete mob scene of all the children jumping up on top of each other.
like World War Z.
Well, but it reminds me of the WRKZ or whatever, Cincinnati. That old show when they dropped turkeys from the helicopter or from a plane, and you're like, I swear, I thought that turkeys flew.
Oh my God.
It's actually based on a true story. Somebody actually did that once and dropped turkeys from a plane, some radio shock jock, nice. And he claimed that he thought turkeys flew. But anyway, I'm trying to find it. It's on Instagram, but
I have to wonder if you're dropping a bunch of little tiny objects from a helicopter. How does the rotor wash not just blow those things everywhere? I mean, I could just see kids just getting pelted in the face by plastic eggs, Well,
I was just thinking, if you're too high up. I mean, terminal velocity, and I mean,
helicopter crashes, and oh man, I don't want to think about that. That's bad news.
It always surprised me because I mean, you think about years and years ago, like all the crazy stuff that you'd see photos of or hear things about different events at like small towns that they would do, and you're like, oh, that would be a really amazing photograph, and you're like, no, they would never do that. That's a safety concern. Like they would never fly a helicopter over a bunch of children and drop plastic filled eggs on people nowadays, but I guess they do somewhere.
No, we're way past that. That's what they did in olden times. That was when we were young. Wait, when was it? Yes, last year?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Oh, Jesus.
They keep the dream alive.
Speaking of Easter, have you ever shot anything religious related around the Easter holiday? Like any religious services or anything like that? Has always been sort of the Easter egg hunt theme, or Easter, the typical sort of commercialized version of Easter.
I've not personally, but one of the things I've always wanted to do is maybe after a couple of years, have enough airline miles saved up, is go to the Philippines. And I believe on Good Friday in the Philippines, a lot of really zealous folks kind of reenact Christ's walk, like up the hill, and they actually have themselves nailed to crosses, which is totally crazy. But the photos every year are just insane. Really dynamic, really visual, pretty incredible stuff. So maybe someday I'll get to the Philippines. I think that's where it is, the Philippines.
Hey, what's that religious... I'm sorry, go ahead, Zach.
There's a couple I think it's the Philippines, but also I think there's a couple South American countries that do it as well, even possibly in Spain. Basically, I think any kind of highly devoted Catholic communities will do it. So we get a little, I'm a Catholic, we get a little crazy around this time, so. I mean, it's the big comeback. It's the time when,
There you go, man. You kind of want to pull them aside and be like, guys, like, he went for you. You don't have to.
You basically do
You've got it covered, man.
Like, you realize, like, Jim Cassavel in Passion of the Christ, they didn't nail him. directly to that in real life. He did get shot. He did get hit by a bolt of lightning though during the filming of that movie. But
Wow.
yeah,
I did not know that.
one would have thought that would have taken as a sign that maybe, but
I have photographed an Easter service one time. So I saw like the 3 crosses with the white thing on it and stuff like that. So it looked like any other church service to me, but there were 3 crosses. It was outside. It was nice.
Nice. Yeah, if you can do some research, sometimes you can find an outdoor like sunrise service.
Yes, it was a sunrise service. That's what.
Yeah, yeah. If the weather's good enough for you, it can be really pretty.
Yeah, that's something else you can shoot.
Yeah.
I dress one of my children up in a bunny outfit, and then we do portrait photos in front of flowers and other pretty things, like I did this past weekend.
Yeah. Nice. I just realized I'm going to a casino for my family Easter dinner.
Nice.
Or I should actually make sure I bring my gear, because that actually might be really interesting.
If you're allowed to photograph,
I don't even want to know what the local Native American casino is going to do for Easter. So
whatever they do, they're going to blow it out. They're going to just go crazy with it.
Yeah.
Easter egg hunts, Easter service. Anything else? Anything else Eastery related you can all think of? I would say, just find, again, man, it's really tough finding an Easter egg hunt. I mean, pictures with the Easter bunny. And this topic did not have as much legs as I thought it would. We gotta get some Easter expert on here. Somebody who's done award-winning Easter photos.
That guy in the mall that takes the photo.
Yeah.
I don't know what outfit. I don't even know what they would wear.
Next
it's
time we
not
gotta get
Santa.
people to do mall Santas. We gotta get people to do the photography of mall Santas, because that's gotta be tough right there.
Yeah, for sure.
I know.
All right, well that's it for Easter. Let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. Man, we can't even riff off it. We can't riff about that. Man, all right. So let's talk about Google. They're in the news because they bought Lytro. Lytro was this nifty sort of camera idea that had a bunch of different lenses. Well, not lenses, but I forget the way the technology worked. But essentially, it shot a photograph that had every single focal length covered, so you could choose your focus after the photo. We thought, oh, this is going to be the future. This is amazing technology. We'll now be able to choose our exposure, our ISO, all our settings after the fact. We don't even have to be good at photography. We can just kind of point the camera in a general direction, and we can do everything in post. And then, of course, nobody bought their cameras, and they kind of went away. So now Google has bought them. They paid more than $40 million or so. I guess that's the guess here, and I don't know what they're going to do with them at all. But they're Google, so I'm sure that they have some sort of idea in their heads. I could definitely see a use for this in cell phones, I mean, we're seeing more and more cameras on cell phones, on the back of cell phones. I mean, I don't see why this couldn't be the next sort of niche or, niche idea with regard to trying to get people to buy the next generation cell phone. You say, look, you can do the focus after the fact, You guys have any thoughts on this?
I think I agree with you. I mean, it's just basically it's either between the cell phone tech and there's still a bunch of things that they're trying to develop when it comes to the eyeglass. I forget what that was called, Google Glass, I guess.
Right.
That tech. So I mean, when it comes to the photos and that sort of thing, it really makes sense that that's going to be the next deal with cell phone tech, because I mean they're already starting to add, what is it? Doesn't the Apple 10 have two lenses on the back already for focusing or something? So I mean that's where it's going to go. And I'm sure also the big thing with whenever one tech company buys another tech company, it's not always just the actual physical product that they're selling. It's often there's an algorithm or something like that. Basically, half the time that a company's actual worth isn't the products that they sell or what their marketing is. It's some algorithm that they have in the back. I mean, I always remember this story, at least when I worked back at B&H Photo. 10 years ago, the story was always Canon. Basically, the reason why Canon is able to sell cameras at the lower price that they were able to back then was because they have like one little thing in a color printer basically makes them 40% of their profits. Right. And
yeah, so I mean, I think there's definitely a point here with regard to patents. As it mentions in the article we've linked here in the show notes, there's 59 patents that are related to Lytro that they have gotten with regard to like light field and digital imagery. So I think that's another big thing for Google. Of course, we haven't heard much about the patent warfare between Apple and Samsung, but again, those patents, those are what's really here worth. But again, I think they mentioned here in the article the potential for VR. So I mean, making VR more immersive is really important. When you have the sort of ability to add a little depth to what you're looking at in the picture. I know when looking at some three-dimensional 360 photos, it's definitely much more immersive than just sort of the flat 360. Mm-hmm. But most of my VR use has been with the PlayStation VR. Recently, playing a couple PlayStation VR games when I have a chance, which isn't very often. But Luke, how about you? Any thoughts on Lytro? Did you hear about, did you have any intrigue about the camera when it first was announced? Did you ever think about getting one yourself, or was it something you just kind of bypassed altogether?
Yeah, absolutely. So pretty much any time I see like Lytro or another company come out with something that sounds absolutely astounding, that will totally put me out of business and make me irrelevant, professionally. What I do in my spare time is I take my really like gut level irrational fears and I just follow them to wherever they lead. And so I definitely thought about it and worried about it, but kind of where I always come back to, and I could be wrong, but when I think like what separates me or you guys or any other kind of full-time journalist, or even not full-time journalist, but someone who's really passionate about creating visuals with photography, like what separates them from the guy who just got the iPhone 25, which is that takes a picture for you
now.
Yeah, right, for sure. The line is forming as we speak. No, it's like what separates that, I think, is, or at least what I want my work to kind of show is like intentionality. I think like you can have the most amazing camera ever, but if you don't, if you're not like trying to show something on purpose or for a reason, or if you're not trying to say something, not even say something profound, but just say, hey, this is the order I was trying to create out of this chaos that we live in. If you don't just kind of have that going for you, then I think we will still be a cut above whatever technology comes for our jobs. I hope.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Well, we don't have to worry about anybody coming for our jobs just yet. At least not with light field cameras.
Well, I go, what jobs? Just as a freelancer, I go, well, they're coming for the payments I'm going to get in 3 months from some company. No,
yeah,
right. Like who wants to steal this job?
Yes.
All your non-paying work.
Yeah, no, all that. Oh my God, exposure get for our work. But yeah,
man, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens when no one's getting paid to do photography anymore. Yeah. What happens to the market then?
Yeah. I mean, what hopefully with this with this tech though is that if it goes to some company that has a larger sum of money like Google, that has a bigger background to it and is able to play around with the idea more than like a quote unquote small company, because I mean Lytro had I think at least a couple $100 million behind it way back in the day. Yeah. So it was a small company when it comes to venture capital firms. But Google can potentially play around with it and maybe, it would be really interesting what the tech and the algorithm and the kind of, as opposed to the physical product, what it could do if it goes into, the CPU of an actual camera, and whether it could make focusing smarter. Because I always saw the future of that tech, not even in single imagery, but as in when it comes to video, just because video is so much more on just purely autofocus. There's so many documentary filmmakers and things like. I think about the times that the amount of times I've filmed something, just stuck my camera on a tripod and filmed it, and the focus was off by a foot. But since it's video, you really can't fix that as easily. Then it's just, you might as well just throw away the video, and being able to have something that at least had like a little bit of wiggle room or something like that in a, especially in like a $5,000 video camera or something like that, that would certainly be useful.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that focus after the fact is going to be something we'll see implemented, if not, made standard in the next 10 years or so. I mean, really, that's one of the last bastions with regard to digital photography that really manufacturers can kind of expand to. I mean, we've gotten extremely good low light sensitivity in cameras. You can choose a lot of different features after the shot's taken. I mean, the dynamic range of cameras nowadays is incredible. The amount of stops you have to actually adjust an image. You can bring a completely horribly exposed image back to life nowadays, especially if you shoot it raw. So I think we're going to see focus just be another slider on our Lightroom or whatever platform we use, and it's just going to be like, it's a little bit soft. I accidentally shot for the background. Let me just click my slider to the right here. Oh, now my subject can focus. I just think it's going to be something that is built in, and we're not even going to have to think about. But again, I think that's going to be probably in the next 10 years, if not sooner. It's something we're going to even have to think about.
You don't have to go into sharpening and move it all the way over in Lightroom.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be real world sharpening. You'll be sharpening the image because you'll be moving the focus. So, I think it'll just be something we don't even think about. But that'll open up some interesting ethical questions with regard to, what you chose to shoot, what you chose to put in focus. But I think it's the same thing about composition and everything else. It's like there's a lot of choice that the photographer makes that can affect the sort of quality and also what's the focus of the image. So now focus is actually one of those options, actual focus. But anyways, let's close it off with our next and final topic this evening. We're talking about Instagram. So not only can you get your imagery stolen from you and repurposed and published on other people's Instagram accounts, but you can pay for the privilege of that. Zach, you actually posted about this, I saw on your Facebook page. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about being featured on Instagram and why you aren't choosing to pay people to repost your stuff.
Pay?
Get paid to be featured. No, I have 100,000 followers.
Got one of the. I'm sorry, I forgot what my connection to it was. I forgot I posted about it.
Posted about it.
I got an email about from a. I guess it'd be a PR person or something like that. I'd be like, we can help you get bigger numbers and be featured more on Instagram. And obviously it was, somebody looking to have me pay them for money. And I was just like, oh dear Lord. I think I got the same. This piece is actually in Petapixel is actually pulled from one of our former guests, David J. Crew.
Yeah.
And I think he might have actually gotten the same thing I did. It was like, we saw your page and liked your work. We'd love to promote your page to help you grow bigger. If you're interested, get back to us ASAP and we'll send you our price list. It's like, now I have to pay to be on a free site and share our imagery for free. It's like, no, I'm good. Like, I may work for free for exposure or something like that occasionally if it's something I'm, really, really passionate about, or something. I don't know. But in no way, shape, and form am I going to pay. Like a long time ago, I stopped even buying ads on Facebook for, articles and different things I wrote because it just it wasn't worth it. Not only it wasn't worth it because I was paying to promote something I did often for free or for pay. It wasn't worth it in the way that it wasn't getting the reach, and then I wasn't even seeing it when, I get you get 2,000-3,000 people see an article and like not a single one of them like your page. And so it's just like, that's actually, it's funny. The story ties in almost really well what we were talking about beforehand. And, with Cambridge Analytica, the whole big story of Facebook where, I have alone what Cambridge Analytica did, polling data and everything like that. Like I have enormous doubts that it did actually anything at all in the 2016 election, just based on personal experience on how little having larger numbers and bigger pull on social media actually has any effect on getting people to call you for assignments or actually even physically buy things on a link, whether it be on Amazon or whatever. Social media is really, really terrible for that. So.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty much the targeted advertising that I notice nowadays is something that I just bought 2 hours ago on eBay. It's like, I just bought one of those. Thanks. But actually, for the first time, at least that I'm aware of, a targeted ad appealed directly to me, and I was like, "Take my money." It was on the New York Times. It was for a tour guide service where you pay them a couple $1,000s and they drive you around Europe to all the great battlefields of World War II. And I was like, "Hey, I want to do that."
They found you.
They found me. And
the algorithm worked.
It did once. It worked once. So yeah.
I usually get the ads that are from Amazon, because I've been searching on Amazon for something, and now every single ad on it is like, "Hey, do you want to see that thing you were searching for that one time? Here's an ad for it." I guess you were thinking about buying it, but you didn't buy it. Are you sure you don't want to buy it?
That's right.
I don't know what kind of people or this appeals to. I don't think it appeals to any professionals. I think it appeals to those who just want that feeling, that sort of endorphin rush of likes and followers, and are already people who probably pay for those things anyways. They go on and hire those services that give you 1,000 likes for $1 or whatever it is. So I can't imagine any professional doing this, as 90% of them or 99% of them are already like you, complaining about the fact that no one pays me to do my job anyhow. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there is. I mean, if you're on Instagram, if you go down the rabbit hole of Instagram, if you click that, the heart button, as opposed to just follow your feed, you click on that other button that shows you the people connected to you through other people, and start going down just people who copy and paste memes onto Instagram and things like that, which I do often. So you see a crap ton of people who are literally just the Instagram celebs, and some of those people turn it somehow into a living. Just because they have 1 million followers, they're able to get products and sponsorships and things like that. But when it comes to the photojournalism world, or even, I just gotta say, it's hard outside of maybe specifically model photography or something like that, or headshots of some high level. I don't understand what having outside of a couple thousand. I get that there's there's got to be a bell curve of having a number of followers on Instagram that makes a difference. But I look at other great people who I massively respect, say Scott Olson, photojournalist, great photojournalist. I think he has 500. I think I have more followers than he does. And that's just because I have do this show and everything that actually make those connections. So I don't think it has anything to do with getting work. And I think even if I had 30 or 40,000 followers, I don't think I'd get the work that I'd want to. Maybe I'd get advertising work, but I don't really want to do advertising gigs if I can help it. So.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I definitely feel for folks who are trying to make a go at it and really, trying to take things to the next level. Every once in a while I'll get an email from somebody who's like, "Hey, I love your work. How do I break into this industry?" And I'm just kind of and I don't, don't, or no, I can't tell them don't, because I have people tell me don't when I first started out, and I was like, but I don't know. I think it's just hard. The only real, not that anyone's asking, but the only real advice that I have is just shoot stuff that you love and shoot stuff that you care about, and if you've got that, then it's usually good. If you care about it, it's good, generally. It
shows.
Yeah, definitely.
If you have passion for something, and if you don't, it really shows. I look at my own work and things that I'm I shot that for a job, and I'm like, wow, it really shows. I made the shots that I had to get the job done, but the stuff I really care about, I'm like, oh, that work was so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, kind of having been to photo school, and or at least when I was there, the idea was if you're going to make a website, then you got to have like your NPPA clip contest winners. Like you need a photo of a fire, you need a portrait, you need a sports shot. But what's funny is kind of sort of what started my big break into politics, which is where I wanted to go, political photography. I landed like a White House internship, not because of any like politics that I'd shot, but because I took a pretty cool picture of a train at night. And I love trains, but I got into the White House photo office and the head photo editor was like, "You're here because that train picture." It's like, what? So, yeah.
Wow.
So it's, man.
I'm going to have to upload my train photos I've taken. Damn.
Hey, man.
I know, right? Man, that's where it's at. That's the ticket right there. Train photos.
I'm the train
You heard
guy.
it here
You know,
first.
the White House press office is now going to be like 6 months from now. Going to be like, why am I getting so many photos of trains?
That's right.
That damn around the lens. Darn them. And their huge monumental push. We are trendsetters. We are tastemakers here at Around the Lens.
Yes.
All right. Well, yeah, I'd say, I was reading some of the comments here, and the one thing, like, I can see as to why people would do this is, there are people who pay influencers to be featured because they have the influence and they can get your, it's like sponsorship, right? Just like, we have so many sponsors here at Around the Lens that we push. Oh, wait, no, we don't. Well, actually, I do have a sort of pseudo sponsorship that I'm going to throw at the end of the show, not the beginning of the show. Anyways, but yeah, I mean, I can see that being point. Like, let's say there's a big time Instagrammer and you want them to feature your stuff, and maybe again you don't do photography, but you have some sort of product you're trying to sell. Then there's I could see the point of that, but any other purpose, this seems like some weird money grab idea that people are doing because everyone's just trying to figure out how to make money on the internet. That's the constant struggle. Though, if you have a good idea for a new social media network to compete with Facebook, now would be the time to do that, because you strike gold with that one.
There you go.
Look how well Vero did 20 minutes after I don't know if you guys got that push, but like every single one of my photographer friends was like, oh, we're all moving to Vero. Everybody signed up. And then I literally haven't seen anything on Vero since.
I don't know what Vero is. Is that a social media thing?
Yeah. It looks like Instagram basically, but I guess it had different rights. But then like literally like 45 minutes after I found out about it, a story broke about the CEO being a terrible scumbag and having basically Vero had its #MeToo moment like an hour into it, like its resurgence. So it's like, well, guess that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I just want to throw out there, one of our viewers, Emily Peck, made a good point here. Apparently, Emily said that bloggers deal with that nonsense all the time as well. So I guess, Emily, you're a blogger and you have to deal with that nonsense. As we have, the show is a blog eventually. AroundTheLens.com is a blog essentially. I get a lot of emails from people saying, hey, I will write for you, write content for you. And then they send me some like weird, semi-relevant but not really relevant article on something. Like, sometimes it's about like photography, other times it's like about travel, and I'm like, what do you want me to do with this spam you're sending me? But I guess that's another thing. Bloggers, in the same way as the photographers, just trying to get that exposure to get them clicks.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're nearing the end of the show. Luke, what would you like to promote that you would like people to find out more about? Like yourself? Or would you like to promote something? Another photographer?
A cool
tip, trick website you like people to check out?
Okay, sure. All right.
The floor is yours.
First, can I go back to our second topic of conversation?
Absolutely.
When we were talking about
I'm sorry. No.
We're done? Okay.
Go for it.
So thinking about just sort of daydreaming as you guys were talking, I wasn't listening. I was mostly thinking about what it would be like to never have another photo.
Of the time.
Right. I was thinking what it would be like to never have another photo out of focus, or you have to trash one. And actually, right now, I'm not a big book guy, but I picked up a copy of Robert Kappa's autobiography from his time in World War II. And the title is super cool. It's called Slightly Out of Focus. And I believe that those were the words that maybe The Wire sent out when his photos from Omaha Beach on D-Day came back. So they're blurry and slightly out of focus.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's an incredible book. I would definitely pick it up. It's out of print, but you can get it on eBay or Amazon used for like $5 or $6. It's really incredible. So I want to plug that. But then also kind of with that point, say that one of the things, aside from, whatever it was, like 11 out of the 12 roles from D-Day being lost in the darkroom, aside from that fact, one of the things I think that makes those photos so impactful is the fact that they're not technically perfect. And that, when you look at these photos of, these men rushing into Nazi machine gun fire on the beaches of France, like, you're really taken there by the chaos and the blur. And so that my counterpoint to having everything in focus all the time is sometimes it can be powerful not to have things in focus and sharp. But in terms of promoting,
excellent advice. I'm going to shoot out of focus from now on for that very reason.
Yeah, right, that's right.
Tell
your editors,
doing it on purpose. Anytime anybody asks me, hey, you're doing this shots up, I did it on purpose.
That's right.
Capture, damn it, I did it on purpose.
Amen. In terms of promotion, I'm about to get back on Instagram after Easter. It's just going to be awesome. But I've actually really missed it. I probably care too much about who's seeing my photo and who's liking them and who's commenting them. But a little gap from being on social media has helped me kind of realize, like, hey, life's more than Instagram likes. But I'm really excited to get back on because I've got photos that I want people to see that I'm excited about. And I've got two things I'm getting ready to post. One is a project I've been working on in a steel town in northwestern West Virginia. So it's basically Ohio and then like Pittsburgh area. It's a little town called Weirton, West Virginia. And if you've ever seen the movie Super 8, that is the town where they filmed that movie. Big old steel town. But they're tearing the mill down because really steel is no longer profitable there or much anywhere in the U.S. Right? Surprise. So I've been able to go up there a couple times for the New York Times opinion page and just really been so excited to just learn and be exposed to really a cool, tight-knit community and hopefully see what comes next for them. And then another thing I'm getting ready to post is actually sort of super personal work that I probably wouldn't have posted 6 months ago or a year ago, but I've decided to really sort of confront things in my past that I kind of sometimes still feel nagging at me. And one of those is I went through a kind of tough depression in high school, or a time in high school when I was really depressed and just didn't really know what to do. And my friends and family didn't really know what to do with me, but I kind of had never really dealt with that. And so a friend who I really look up to advised me to step back into that and go out and try and slay that dragon, so to speak. So I went back to places where I remember being really depressed, times and places, and just took my camera and said, I'm going to do what I know how to do best, which is take pictures and just sort of try to process and sort. So I'm not sure if they're going to mean anything to anyone else, but they definitely mean something to me. So that's checked my box to make it up on my Instagram. So that'll be coming in a couple weeks.
All right. Well, we'll look out for that project on your Instagram here right after Easter.
Thanks. That's right.
There's going to be just a flood of it feels so good to post on Instagram again.
It will.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, that's great. We'll look forward to seeing all of that work. We'll put links in the show notes to everything that was spoken about tonight. So definitely appreciate you being on. So I'm going to end today's show with some copy I got, some ad copy. So as you know, we do a lot of reviews for bags, think tank bags specifically. So I'm going to push some links on the show notes as well. Just listen to this copy, and if it doesn't make you want to go out and buy a camera bag, then I don't know what's wrong with you. But if you do, you click on these links. We actually have a thing that we get a kickback from Think Tank when you buy stuff. So you pay the normal price, and we get a little bit back. So just think about that. You'll be supporting the show, or you can go to Patreon and actually give us money directly. But only one person's ever done that, and he's on the show. So, anyways, here's the thing. Our friends at Think Tank Photo have released a new and revised classic camera carrying solution. The newly released Storyteller shoulder bags come in 3 sizes. The Storyteller 10 holds an ungripped DSLR or mirrorless camera body, like my GH5. I had to make sure I mentioned that. Once per show. Required by law. 2 to 4 standard telephoto lenses with hoods attached and reversed, and a 10-inch tablet. The Storyteller 8 holds an ungripped DSLR or mirrorless camera body, 3 to 4 small telephoto lenses or primes, and with hoods attached and reversed, and an 8-inch tablet. I'm going to put it over here so I can look at the camera more. What else? The Think Tank has also completely updated their #1 rated line of modular belt system components. The modular belt system, which I own an older version of the modular belt system, so I'm a president and I use the whatever. Modular belt system version 3 moves weight from your shoulders to your waists and more comfortable all-day carry. Many of the new pouches are expandable to fit pro-size lenses with hoods in the shooting position, and the newly added camera clip adapter version 3 belt attachment for the Peak Design Capture Clip, Spiderlight, and Spider Pro cameras allows the clip to rotate on any Think Tank belt for better workflow. And don't forget that by using my special URL, you will receive free gear with your order of over $50 and free shipping on all orders. So again, those links will be in the show notes. Please click on them and buy everything that Think Tank sells, and I would really appreciate that wholeheartedly. That would be super duper great, and you'd be my best friend forever. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's show. I want to thank our panelist, Luke Sherritt, for making time to be with us today. Luke, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Always happy to have you on. And you're always welcome to be back on if you ever want to be back on. Next time you get a top 100, actually, it's per top 100 photo. So
okay, all right.
If you don't get top 100, you're dead to me. All right, that's one show appearance per top 100. If you get 2 top 100s in a year, I'll allow you to be on twice. That's the rules. I'm sorry, I don't make them. Actually, I do make them. I just follow them.
Deal.
I make them and I follow them. No, you're always back.
But if you get a top 10, you get to co-host the show.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
If you get a top 10, the show's yours. I'll just step away. You can have the show. It's your show. That's anyways. All right. Again, I want to thank my co-host, Zach Roberts. I have been David J. Murphy. This has been Around the Lens, episode 116, and we are out.